We call this meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District to order. With the clerk, please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Good morning. Directors Ashby, Bruins.
Present.
Frost.
Here.
Guerra. Harris.
Here.
Hume.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
McGarvey.
Here.
Morin.
Here.
Nottoli. Orozco.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Serna.
Here.
Villegas.
Here.
Warren. Carr.
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please stand, and Mr. Kennedy, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation and Sacramento Area Sewer Districts is being broadcast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption for our hearing impaired viewers and webcasts at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Saturday, January 13th at 2 o'clock and Sunday, January 14th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. In accordance with Government Code 54952.3, compensation for the meeting of these legislative bodies is required to be verbally disclosed. The amount of $100 will be paid for each member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, and the amount of $100 will be paid for each board member participating today as a member of the Sacramento Area Sewer District. Compensation for Sacramento County supervisors and City of Sacramento Council members is paid to the county and the city respectively to partially offset the costs of those governments. Compensation for other board members is delivered to the individuals. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located at the back of chambers and hand it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please silence your electronic devices at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the first item.
Yes. Your first item, acting as Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District. Item number 1 is election of chair and vice chair for the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and the Sacramento Area Sewer District boards.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. So this is what happens every year, the first meeting. We have a chair and vice chair, and we need to elect the new chair and the new vice chair. Traditionally and historically, the vice chair has assumed the chair position. It is alternated between the county and the cities that also served on the SASD board. You could elect someone as a vice chair that don't necessarily serve on the SASD board, which means you have to have another vice chair to serve on on an SASD board. So also historically, what happened is someone that served on the same board was selected. With the process, when the turns happen, so the turn for this year or this year is Elk Grove. So Patrick Kennedy will be assuming the chair if the history holds, and then someone from Elk Grove would be serving as a vice chair.
Okay.
In the Elk Grove, you have 2 members that are serving on the board. Patrick Hume, Director Hume, is one that serves on both boards. Director Lee serves on only SASD board. So in that sense, it would be Director Kennedy and Director Hume, or Patrick and Patrick would be the chair and the vice chair.
Patrick's.
All Patricks all the time.
That is how we would come out. So I will let the members make the motions, or talk themselves out of it, or however they want to do.
All right.
I'd move Patrick Kennedy for chair.
We have a motion and a second. Any other nominees? Any unreadiness? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Abstentions? Mr. Kennedy is elected unanimously.
I would move Patrick Hume for vice chair.
Second.
Okay, we have are there any other nominations? Patrick Hume has been nominated for vice chair. Any other nominations? Close nominations. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Thank you.
Congratulations.
For,
Okay.
for the chair, the second was made by a member that's not on the SASD board, so we need another motion for the chair from the SASD board. Okay.
Wait, what?
You need a motion and a second?
We can use the same motion as long as we have a different second, I think.
Could you repeat that?
Yes.
We didn't hear you.
So who made the motion for the chair?
Peters
I
made
did.
the
Yes,
motion.
but Ms.
Orozco.
Orozco made the second, but she's not on the SASD board. So we need a motion and a second from somebody that's on the SASD board for the chair
So we're
of
good.
the SASD board.
And
Right,
second.
and Ms. Frost seconded.
Yeah.
so now for vice chair, who was the motion in the second? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Moved by Nottoli, seconded by Peters.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. Ready? Item number 2, miscellaneous director and district engineer in matters.
March 17th is going to be a big day, right? It's Patrick's Day.
Do you have a meeting that day?
Yeah, we will not be.
You can be
meeting on March
assured this
17th.
year that a Patrick will lead the meeting.
Maybe not a saint, though.
No.
Okay, item number 2.
So first of all, I want to thank the chair for his service for the last year. Appreciate it. We won't have the board meeting, next board meeting. That would be the next. Let me repeat this again. We won't have the second board meeting in January. Our next meeting will be on February 14th. So with that out of the way, I'll be out of the office until January 21st, starting tomorrow. So about gone for 10 days. And the last but not least, we're going to have a little recognition from SMUD. There's a public event that's being planned on June 30th related to Solar Shares program. If you remember at the last board meeting in December that you all adopted an agreement for the Regional San and SASD to participate in Solar Shares effort. They're trying to invite some local dignitaries to it, and I've asked our chair to be there, and we're still waiting for the program to unfold what it's going to be like. I just wanted to point to you, with the signing of that agreement, Regional San now, because it generates gas, methane gas, which we send it to SMUD for the electricity production and whatnot, roughly 80 to 85% of our energy use comes from renewable resources. So we're very close to being energy neutral. Now, the picture will change when the Echo Water project comes online, but our goal, we're working towards ultimately becoming energy neutral. So we'll be looking for other opportunities to get there. But having 85% is a very good place to be. Yeah. And we're looking at where SASD is, and we still don't have the pictures yet, but I think even at the SASD side with the agreement, we'll be in a very good place. There's additional programs that SMUD is going to unveil within the next year or two, and we're watching for opportunities there as well. We also are going to be starting our 4.2 megawatt solar project that's on site, that if your board remember, that was approved early last year. With that, we will probably have the largest solar project at a wastewater treatment plant anywhere in the nation, probably one of the largest. Not quite the largest, but very few that are larger than ours that exist at a wastewater facility. So in many fronts that the Regional San and SASD are making great strides towards environmental stewardship, and this is a testament to that effort, and we'll continue to make those strides. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know. I would have said all of this if we had the January 24th meeting, but since we didn't have it, I wanted to highlight that to you, that for you. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you. Item number 3 is public comment. I don't have any cards. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak? Next item.
Item number 4, Echo Water Project Quarterly Report.
Good morning. I'm Vic Kiotani. I'm the program manager for the Echo Water Project. I'd like to provide some highlights from the quarterly report. So I'll give you an overview of the schedule and then some financial information, and then we'll talk about some of the latest program updates and some of the upcoming milestones. This is a summary program schedule. The bars in green are planning and design phase, and the bars in blue and purple are the construction and commissioning phase. You can see we're in construction of 5 projects currently, and you'll also notice that we have 5 projects that are nearing completion of the design phase, notably the tertiary treatment facilities project, which is actually out on the streets advertising for bids. Shortly coming up next quarter or so, we'll be releasing several other projects for advertising for bids. And you can see those listed more toward the bottom of that chart. So this graph is to give you an idea of how some of the other smaller projects are related to the main projects that are required to meet our permit compliance date. So you can see the 2 large projects, the key projects for us for permit compliance are the biological nutrient removal project and the tertiary treatment facility project. You can see how several of these other projects have been phased to complete and are needed for, in particular, the biological nutrient removal project, but we've started them early enough to show that there is some float in those schedules. So the blue bars are the construction contract dates, and if you see some of the gray bars, those are actually either projected or dates that the project has completed late. The green bars actually show the float in those projects and when they're really required before they would impact the BNR or TTF projects. So from a tracking perspective, we're really looking at the 2 large projects, the BNR and the tertiary treatment facility projects. Those are our real key projects. This is a cost histogram of the program cash flow. The dark colors in blue are the construction cost, and all the colors in red are the soft costs. So that's everything else except construction. The faded out are projected expenditures. So you can see that we still have quite a bit of work to go on this program, and you'll see the peaks mainly from the BNR project, a slight dip as that project starts to be completed, but then the upswing again on the later end is from the tertiary treatment facilities project. So this graph caused a little bit of discussion at the last quarterly update. And this shows our projected cost versus our actual cost. And the one thing that I mentioned at that time was that it's good that we're under the program budget. It does provide some indication that there could be some project slip so that we're not spending enough money, which translate to not getting enough work done. So what I did is I've added this graph, and I apologize for the real fine lines, but this kind of comes right out of one of our programs. And this is going to take a little bit of explanation, so it's going to get a little technical, but I'll try to make it very clear. So the orange, basically these are costs that come out of the contractor's schedule. So the contractor submits a baseline schedule, and that's represented by that orange line, starting from the left all the way out to project completion. So his schedule is cost loaded. So from that schedule, we can develop this cost curve. So this is what we would expect to spend from the baseline from what he originally submitted. So left of that vertical red line, you'll see a single line that looks either blue or red, and that's actual cost. And so you can see, similar to the previous graph, that we have expected expenditures in the orange line, but then what we actually expended is below that. And so this is for the BNR project only. So I mentioned that's kind of our critical project. So that's telling us, kind of around if you look at the September date, that there's a gap between projected versus actual expenditures. And for that construction project, that could signal that there is an issue, that he's not spending enough money, he's not getting enough work done. Because we can physically go out in the field and agree upon a amount of work that's done, and that's what the contractor gets paid for. So you can also see as that single line splits a little bit past September, what the contractor does is he knows where he's at in his project. And so he can submit a revised construction schedule. And so at that split, you can see where he's submitted a revised construction schedule, and the two curves are what we call an early start and a late start. But the thing to note that is, if you go all the way out to the right side of that graph, they all meet the same point. So the construction costs are the total construction cost of that project. The question is how he gets to that endpoint. And the two different curves shows that different times of work activities when they get done. So that's kind of what that shows. So as we track cost, through the rest of this project, we're kind of looking, as long as it's not below the late start date, are we really in a schedule issue? But what we try to do is, and we're doing this now, is that we see some trending. So we're looking at trends of cost, and where we see this split between projected and actual expenditures, we're bringing this to the contractor's attention. We're meeting with their managers and upper-level managers to discuss this. And so when they start submitting these revised construction schedules, we need to ensure that they can actually do that amount of work in the amount of time that he said. So, if you ask me the question, is this project on schedule? According to the contractor's revised construction schedule, he says he's on schedule. But when we start looking at trending and production rates, we're thinking he's starting to slip. And so we're actively working with the contractor's management, having that discussion to make sure that he can stay on his construction schedule. Any questions about this?
Dr. McGarvey.
I have a question. There's quite a bit of construction going on throughout the state because of all the fires and the floods and all that sort of thing. Is any of that construction affecting what you're trying to do?
In my opinion, it does. Even last summer, the Oroville Dam project really pulled a lot of the concrete type laborers, concrete placements. They pulled a lot of that staff out to that project. And we did see some effects from the BNR project, and he lost some people, and they go out and they scramble to bring in people to fill those gaps. But that's a valid statement that we're definitely watching. We don't have a lot of control over that situation, but we'll see what happens. We've got bids coming in for tertiary treatment facilities project, and they're taking into account those kind of labor shortages, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. Now, I thought it would be some way or other it would be affecting this project that we have here, the Echo Water. So, thank you.
So this graph basically tells us the overall cost of the program. The 1.735 is our program budget. We're about 37% spent. Construction costs account for about 1.4 billion of that, of the program, and we're about 29% spent. And then the soft cost, we're 68% spent, and that's to be expected since that covers most of the design work. Remaining portions are a little bit of design, but more in the construction management, inspection, and regional sand staff time. So just a few program updates. Until recently, we've been having a kind of a dry weather, which has really helped out our construction. Our contractors have been making great progress up until probably about the end of last week. But it has helped us with our construction schedules. We see we've turned over some of the processes that have been under construction to our operations group. They need those for the wet weather to treat the incoming flows. So we're working closely with them on that. We've identified for the remaining projects and some of the upcoming projects, there's some major tie-ins and shutdowns that are going to be required. Some of these are on the verge of a 48-hour shutdown of putting water out through the plant. And that really starts to stress our biological process, so we're working hard with our operations group to figure out how to get those processes back online once we go through a shutdown. We're well over 1,100,000 hours of labor worked on this program. We've incurred 9 lost time injuries. On the state revolving fund front, we've been reimbursed about 25% of our loan, which is good. We've actually started making some payments back for some of the early completed projects. The disinfection chemical storage project, which is to get us off the gaseous chemicals that we use, that's complete, fully online and functioning very well. The return activated sludge project is replacing some pumps in existing facilities. The first phase of that has completed and it's fully operational.
Director Nottoli, I believe, has a question.
Yeah, just a quick question. Didn't mean to interrupt your presentation, but going back to your coordination on the shutdown, the tie-in, are you going to do that at a time when you would more dry weather period, although we had dry winter, but because it would seem to me any time where you might have a storm that could really increase the inflows, that could, throw things off badly. So you're looking to do that shutdown, say, after the spring period of time when you would anticipate any heavy storms and so forth?
Yes, that's correct. Our projects, we put constraints within our projects. I think they're in end of April to somewhere beginning or end of October is what we call our dry periods and our lower flows. And those are the only times that we can take those kind of facilities offline to do something like that, because we store all that flow and then we have to return it back in as well. Right. So,
okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see, and finally I mentioned the tertiary treatment project is on the streets to be advertised, so we should be expecting bids toward the end of February on that. So I'll get into some of the aerial photos, updates of the program. This is a recent aerial, December 29th. You can see the flow equalization basins up in the foreground. All that white is all the concrete lining, and as well as the side slopes, those are all complete. Right above that is the biological nutrient removal project. You can see that whole footprint right in here. You can see the progression of the construction of the concrete tankages in there. This is the close-up of the flow equalization project, just showing you the concrete lining. There's still some work on the intermediate levees in that basin. A little bit more of a close-up. You can see construction of the ramp. We've got patrol road on top. There's a few places that we still need to do some road paving up there. Nitrifying side stream treatment project. The treatment tanks are completed, as well as the electrical building here on the side. They're doing hydrostatic testing. We'll be starting on the third tank shortly. This is the nitrifying side stream treatment. This is a lime storage building. You can see actually those 2 white cylinders up in the top of that photo. Those are the lime silos that have been delivered. Those will be placed over those holes and they'll feed lime to the equipment inside that building below. This is shows the electrical building, electrical control building. You can see this structure that's just off to the left. That's actually part of the flow equalization project. This is one of the extended shutdowns that we're going to have to do. That structure goes over 2 of the plant's effluent pipes. One of them goes out to the river. The other pipe will divert water into the storage basins. And we need to make another tie-in, and that's a 48-hour window is what we gave the contractor to do. This is the biological nutrient removal project. You can see, yes? Was there a question? Oh, sorry. This is the biological nutrient removal project. You can see all the concrete construction. I don't know if you can see the arrows, but up to about this portion, this is half of the tankages. And so they're almost complete with 1 tank here, which is one of the 4. And they're starting to actually do some deck pours on that structure, and that's what you can see here. That's across one of the east-west equipment gallery. Get this arrow right through here, and that runs the full length of 8 basins. So they are making progress. But this is a picture of the primary effluent pump station. We've got the walls up, the pump basin, pump chambers have been poured and hydrostatically tested. This picture just shows where we're connecting into some of the existing plant systems. The 3 pipes at the bottom are what we call return activated sludge piping. They get pulled biology from the secondary process and returns them back to the BNR process for treatment. This is the return activated sludge project, replacing all the pumps in our existing secondary sedimentation tanks. This is a completed portion, and they are working on 2 of the tanks this winter. So we're able to pull 2 tanks out during the winter. We have enough capacity to meet all of our wet weather flows with 2 tanks out. And this last one is the heavy equipment maintenance building. We have an existing facility that's in the footprint of the tertiary treatment facilities, so we built a new facilities to move that service into. This project is almost complete. We'll be moving staff over in there probably by the end of February. So the focus of the program is changing, from the design planning side into the construction and specifically the commissioning area. We went through commissioning of the disinfection chemical storage, which is a fairly small but really important project. We learned a lot of things on that. One of the things we learned is you got to start the contractor thinking about commissioning early. So we're working with the contractors to get early commissioning schedules, working with the program management office staff. We have a part in that commissioning activity. Nitrifying side stream treatment will be commissioning mid this year sometime. And even though BNR is still under construction, the commissioning schedules for something like that is extremely difficult. Both of those are biological processes, and contractor is, they don't really have that kind of a knowledge of how to start up that kind of process, and that's coming from the designers in the program management office. So we talked about the multiple tie-ins, the biological nutrient removal project, the RAS project, we have an effluent valve project, and the tertiary project. They all have major tie-ins that are requiring extended shutdowns. So we're really coordinating all of those projects together because we were able to try to take advantage of a shutdown. Multiple projects can do pieces of work within that same window. And finally, we talked about project slippage. We are actively looking at our project schedules and really trying to keep that contractor on schedule or even recovery schedules. So these are some of the next milestones coming up. I mentioned several times tertiary treatment facilities projects will be opening bids around the end of February. We'll be also opening effluent valve replacement project. Those bids will be coming in the end of this week. We'll be advertising the channel air blower project. That's probably coming out, probably saying about like March, we'll be coming to the board for approval to advertise. And then we have several amendments for services for engineering during construction and construction management services. So you'll be seeing approvals to increase those contract amounts. Those will be coming up in the next few months. And then looking ahead into spring, we're itching to get the TTF project mobilized and started. We'll complete the heavy equipment maintenance building. That'll be completed, and then award a couple of projects, the effluent valve replacement projects, channel air, and then start commissioning of the NST and the flow equalization project as well. So a lot on our plate coming up. So in summary, of course, safety always remains our focus. And especially with, we still have a lot of contractors on site. There are a lot in the same areas. Inter-project coordination with plant operations, that's always high on the list. We need to maintain the existing permit. Quite challenging. It's going to get more challenging with all these extended plant outages. Overall, it looks like the program is on schedule, but individual projects, and we talked about this several times, we're keeping an eye. We think there may be some slippage going on, but we're actively trying to address those. And that is the end of the presentation. Ready to take any questions.
Any questions? Director Villegas.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Thank you, Vic, for the update, and thank you for the additional detail on the BNR, the actual cost versus the projected cost. I think that's an important distinction to make. You know, this is one of the largest capital projects this region has ever seen, and given the amount of work that's gone into it and the point that we're at now, the fact that we're still on budget and on time, I think it's something that the public ought to know. I mean, I think we ought to make sure that the public's aware that we don't just let them know when we're about to increase, user fees or rates because we've gone over budget or we're projecting these exorbitant costs. But I think the fact that we have made it to this point, and we're still on time and on budget, and this has huge impacts for years to come. And I think there ought to be a way that we're probably educating the public about the success that we've had to date, because typically it's only when you have bad news that you have to share it, unfortunately. And I think this is one that the district ought to be proud of, kind of where it's at, because we were in very precarious position, 10 years ago, contemplating how to get to this point. And so I offer that as something that we're probably already doing it, but I just, as a reminder, the public ought to know that we're actually, we're making good progress, and we've been successful to date, so I think they ought to know.
Yeah, on that front, we are sending annual newsletters, number one, fall. I'm sure you all have received one, documenting what the progress is. We also highlight some of the teams. Each year there's a different team that's highlighted that are critical to this project. And also pointing out where we are with respect to rates and what we were projecting at one point and what we're thinking at this point. Even the projections that we made a couple of years ago, I think we will hold to those, if not beat them, because of the projects are coming under budgets. And we're actually, we're holding our breath, waiting for the last big shoe to drop on the TTF project next month. And with that, I think we can kind of get a bit of sigh of relief in terms of the cost certainty. So later this March, remember that July 1st, based on the rate schedule, the rates are supposed to go up by $1. We are looking at, in March, we'll be bringing to your board whether we would want to continue to go ahead and raise the rate by $1, or should be something smaller than that, or may not be anything at all. Those are all the discussions we're going to be bringing forth to you. The key thing is to have the TTF dollars to come in, and we can plug those in our projections, and then also some operating costs. So far, the projections look good, but we're guardedly optimistic. So in addition to that, we also have lots of tours happening, and everybody that comes through the tours are very surprised at the magnitude. As a matter of fact, last month and last week, I hosted tours from the state board, the regional board, and the EPA. EPA, I've never heard them say, "What can we do for you?" And this is, in the end, we had a discussion, we had lunch, and we talked. We talked about what the regulatory changes they might think of in the future to help where we all have a common goal, how we achieve it, and they get that. But they're awed by the progress and the amount of infrastructure that's being built. Nobody comes through the door thinking that they're going to see this, especially when they drive through that Sims Road, thinking that maybe this is another small plant. But this is going to be, I read yesterday, San Jose is claiming this is their treatment plant to be the largest advanced treatment plant. We're coming for them. In 2 years, we are going to be the largest advanced treatment plant in the Western United States. So it's enormous, the number of cranes and the number of the amount of 230 companies are involved in the project. So there's a lot to be proud of. And we're looking at opportunities to essentially share that, and our customers are happy with it in many fronts. So I appreciate your comment on that. And also to mention that we're highlighting it. Our requirement is to remove ammonia by 2021. But by starting the nitrifying side stream treatment project sometime this year, and hopefully by the end of this year, we have that fully in service, we're fully 2.5 years ahead of schedule for removing 15% of the ammonia. We were not required to do it ahead of time, but we are going to be doing it ahead of time, which is something that the regulators acknowledge and very appreciative of that fact. So there are a lot of good things that are happening. We just need one more good thing on the TTF bid come through.
It's always one more thing.
Hopefully that goodwill will be reflected on the next permit.
I think next permit is one, if I could see my crystal ball, it's cloudy, but there's one issue that's looking at, but if we can get past it, maybe 2026 or 27, well past my time, is one that issue make proper.
Okay, any other questions? Next item.
Acting as Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, item number 5, adopt amendments to the Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District Consolidated Ordinance.
Good morning, board members. Christoph Dobson, Director of Policy and Planning. This is a amendment to the Regional SAN Ordinance. Your board introduced it back on December 13th, so it's now for you to consider the final approval. The main highlights of the amendment, the changes, we have included a 30-year finance agreement option for industrial customers to pay their impact fees. We have also changed the sewer impact fee deferral period to 5 years, so we can do 5-year fee deferrals for certain residential customers. And then basically the rest of it are some clarifications. So with that, really, I'm just looking for, unless you have questions, the actions we're looking for is to hold the public hearing, close the public hearing, recognize the environmental document, and adopt the amendments.
Okay, before I open the public hearing, is there any questions of staff from the board? All right, open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that would wish to speak on this item? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Carr, second by Director Harris. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Next item.
Acting as Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District and Sacramento Area Sewer District, your district consent matters are items 6 and 7.
Chair, there's one correction that needs to be made. Item 7 should be taken separately because there's a public hearing part of it. So 6 is a consent. 7, we need to do it as open the hearing and close it and adopt the resolution.
6.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by, was that Director Morin? And second by Director Bruins. Are there any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. Item 7, please read separately.
Yes, item number 7 is participation in the California Statewide Communities Development Authority Statewide Community Infrastructure Program.
Are there any questions of the board before we open the public hearing? And with that, we will open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on this item? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move item 7.
It was moved by Director Carr, second by Director Frost. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain.
Item number 8, acting as Sacramento Regional County Sanitation District, acting as Sacramento Area Sewer District, is item number 8 is your district consent matter.
Is there any questions about, from members regarding this item? Is there a motion?
I'll move for consent.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Hume, second by Director Carr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Item number 9, acting as Sacramento Area Sewer District, adopt amendments to the Sacramento Area Sewer District Consolidated Ordinance.
It's me again.
Yep.
This is a very similar item. I do want to point out, same process with the SASD ordinance amendment. There are, in addition to the changes that we made with the regional SAN, there's one more item. This ordinance amendment adds a sewer lifeline rate assistance program for SASD so that we have the ability to implement that program and help out some of our lower income customers. So again, same actions required and just looking for your approval.
Is this a public hearing item?
Yes, public hearing.
Any questions? Okay, we will open the public hearing. Is there any member of the public that would like to address this issue? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Moved by Vice Chair Hume, second by Director Carr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Okay. And for your last item, number 10, receive the 2018 update of the long-term financial plan and approve the capital funding projection for the Sacramento Area Sewer District for fiscal year 2018-19 through fiscal year 2027-28.
Good morning, Chair and board members. My name is Joe Mastretti. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the SASD District. Can we please have the presentation? Thank you. What we have here is the long-term financial plan update for 2018 for SASD. So we want to take a look at some of the highlights and some of the critical issues that we look at to develop the plan. For the forecast model, we want to look at some of the assumptions and the results. Then we want to look at our capital funding projection. And this year we're looking at a sensitivity analysis a little bit different than we had in the past. Then we'll look at our debt management and some action items. Some of the highlights, the SASD district is in excellent financial condition, and we continue to do very well with rating agencies. We have an upgrade in the last couple of years with all three of the rating agencies. And in 2015, you'll recall, we paid off 1/3 of our outstanding debt a little bit early, and we're starting to reap the benefits of that. The projection doesn't have us needing a rate increase for the next 5 years, and we also are able to increase our capital program and without using any debt. This is just a list of some of the critical issues that we continually monitor that could have an impact on our financial position. The regulatory requirements are always out there for us to deal with, legal challenges related to that, and the service levels. We also look at the investment markets. Since we're not in the market to borrow money, we don't have any worries about interest rates going up. But the interest rates going up on the short end of the yield curve do benefit us in that we're able to earn a little bit more on our investments of our reserves. The natural disasters and other emergencies that we constantly plan for and maintain significant reserves for. Also related to that, the water flow fluctuations, if we have high water events or if we have long-term drought, they can both have impacts on our financial positions. And then we're constantly addressing our aging infrastructure, trying to keep ahead of that has a big financial implications for the district. Some of the assumptions that we were looking at, the low growth rate that we use in the forecast is 0.5%. Right now we're closer to 1% the last year and the current year. But just a couple of years ago, we were down as low as 0.25%. So we think a conservative estimate is about 0.5% that we use throughout the 10-year period. The operating costs fluctuate based on the schedules that are maintained. The capital cost average $22.8 million per year. This is up significantly over the last couple of years. And some of the targets that we look at in the forecast model, one of the main ones is the debt coverage ratio. We try to keep it around 2 or higher. This is considerably more than what we need for our debt coverage covenants in our bonds, but it's pretty close to the medium for the industry. And basically the results, as we talked about, no rate increases needed until 2023, and then when we do need rate increases, they'll tend to be rather small, in the 75 cents per month for a monthly service rate, that kind of area. And then looking at our capital program, over the next 10 years, we have $228 million worth of planned expenditures. Compared with 3 years ago, this is a considerable increase. 3 years ago, we were looking at a 10-year plan of about $142 million. The reason we're able to do that increase is basically because we paid off the debt early, and then the amount of money that we saved from the debt service, we're able to apply to the capital program without impacting our rates. About 69% of that program is the rehabilitation projects that address our aging infrastructure. The largest of those would be the pump station and force main rehabilitations and the lower lateral replacements. And the largest single location projects would be the Don Julio Watt replacement project, which is starting right now, and then the North Area Courtyard rehabilitation that would occur near the end of the forecast period.
Director Nottoli.
Yeah, Joe, and maybe Prabhakar as well. When we went into the North Area Courtyard, we had a couple of fellow tenants there, I think water quality, water resources from the county, and maybe one other. Are we the sole occupant there now?
No, yes, we are.
And do we have the opportunity there to, again, revisit with folks as maybe they assess their needs, because the location there along the 80 corridor, obviously, to serve a lot of the, not just the unincorporated area, but certainly now with the Placer County portion and with growth in certainly the cities, of citrus heights in particular, but in areas, city of Sacramento growth and so forth, it would seem to me that the proximity and location of that particular corporation yard, and obviously what we're going to undertake here, but it might be before we get into that major rehab, that we at least test, the idea, assuming we have capacity there. Obviously, I know the security and other things, but I mean, we took that over from SMUD, 15, 20 years ago now?
Somewhere in that, yeah.
And it just seems to me that as growth has occurred in the corridor, is projected, but also from a strategic standpoint, logistics of movement of certainly equipment, but personnel, that it might be time to at least have a conversation, assuming we have capacity there to have some shared tenancy with, and maybe to recover some of those costs. And again, I know that's kind of how we went into it at one time. That evolved, again, to where we are today, but I would maybe suggest that we take a look at it and at least reach out to some of our public partners and others who, agencies that might be interested in, using that as a location for either storage and or staging of some of their activities.
Yeah. So one of the ones we recently had discussions with is waste management.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we could not, their needs didn't quite fit what we have available. And we're going to be
meaning what, Prabhakar?
In terms of the square footage, what they wanted and what we have available. So we have certain areas that we need for our operations, and also their general services is no longer maintaining vehicles. They used to maintain a lot of vehicles in that yard, and no longer they pulled out. So we have our own contracted vendors, so they can come in and do the work there. So that didn't work out, but as suggested, when we plan for the future improvements, we will take all of that into consideration. One part of it that we might even want to consider is if there's not enough need there, potentially is there a piece of it that we could parcel off and sell it so that we no longer need. But again, those are all the decisions that we won't be making anytime soon. It's more we have to start a planning project and think about all our needs are and what some of their synergistic needs from other folks are. And we'll definitely be looking at it. This is, again, it's an approximation in terms of the timeline when we would need it. It's not an exact time.
Right.
Every year we'll look at it.
But as we look at rehab, I guess it just suggests that, as you've just highlighted, that we talk with some of potential partners and existing partners, because before you sell off that land, if that were
definitely
consideration, you're never going to get it back once you do that. And obviously, you're tucked in there by a residential neighborhood, but close to the freeway. So it would seem to me that, in examination, obviously you'll bring it to this board at a future date. So
yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
Director Peters.
Thank you. Is it your policy when you're constructing the lower lateral replacements and the work you're going to do, in this case, on Don Julio and Sewer, to contact the departments of transportation of each of those jurisdictions to let them know you'll be in the street?
We do, but I'm going to let Rosemary answer that question.
Absolutely. We're coordinating with DOT on a regular basis. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, we continue on with the sensitivity analysis portion of the forecast. In prior years, we looked at a higher growth rate, and historically, our region growth rate has exceeded 1%. We're getting back to that level now. In our sensitivity analysis, when we plug in the numbers, it looks like we could postpone a rate increase for a couple more years. This year, we looked more specifically at the BAB subsidy. That's the subsidy we get from the federal government on our 2010 Build America bonds. It looked like we might lose that when the tax reform bill was passed, but they subsequently waived that savings requirement, and so we did not lose that subsidy, but it'll continue to be at risk. So we looked at what would happen if we lost it. It's about $2.25 million per year that subsidizes our interest costs on those bonds. If we lost that, we might have to do a rate increase maybe 1 year earlier. So it's not real significant. It's about right around 2% of our operating revenue. So it's not a catastrophic loss if we lose it. It's something that we will continue to monitor, because I think federal legislation that requires savings would put it at risk again. Looking at our debt management, we have two series of bonds outstanding. The 2015 bonds are what's left after we paid off a substantial portion of the 2005 bonds. The tax reform bill also eliminated the ability for municipal governments to do advance refundings, so we can't look forward to any type of refinancing on this particular bond issue, because we don't have a call date until 2025. But it's relatively small. It wasn't anything that we were really counting on anyway. The Series 2010 bonds, the 2010As are the Build America bonds. As we talked about before, there's a low net cost with the subsidy. If we lose the subsidy, then they end up being about 6.25%, which is not a very good rate nowadays. But they have what's known as a make-whole call on those bonds, which means we can call them anytime, but then we have to make the bondholders whole for the value of the interest that we would be paying in the future. It gets discounted at a certain discount rate to a net present value. If the subsidy was lost, we would get a little bit better discount rate. So we will take a look at that if we do lose the subsidy, and we'll look at opportunities to refund those bonds, even though it might not result in a net present value positive transaction. We could still restructure the debt and still find some ways to have better level debt service in the future. Some of the future action items that we're looking at, one is to continue to build our reserves. We do that as part of the annual budget process, and then, as we talked about, we will be monitoring the federal legislation to see how long our BAB subsidy is going to last. It's already been cut by 7% with earlier legislation a few years ago, but that didn't have any material impact on us. So we know that it's at risk, so we'll keep looking at that. And we just recommend that you receive and file the plan and approve the capital funding projection. Approving the projection doesn't approve any specific projects at this point. It just gives us a basis to plan budgets going forward.
Any questions?
Move the item.
Second.
Moved by Director Nottoli, second by Director Carr. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Thank you.
That concludes our meeting. We are adjourned.